it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video I haven't done since March of 2022, and that is romance series that are very addicting and bingeable. I think that most of these are completed series, which is exciting. I do know that Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life just did this video, so I will link that down below if you're interested in checking her video out. Definitely recommend doing that because she has some really good series that I have not read yet that I'm very interested in reading as well, especially after hearing her talk about them. So I have 8 series on here, and half of them I finished. So there are ones though that I'm like dying to continue, and I've read at least 2 books in the series and it's really good. And I feel like the way the author writes, you're just like dying to get into the next book in the series. So I will go ahead and chat about them. The first one I'm actually doing a read along with, and that is for the Runaway series by Devney Perry. I always want to call it the Runaway Road series, but book 1 is Runaway Road, and it follows a group of 6 friends who all grew up in a junkyard together because they did not come from good homes, so they all ran away from their homes to live here together until they graduated from high school. From there, the 6 of them have spread out across the country, and so we follow one of them who has this Cadillac. I think it's a Cadillac. It's a car that she restored, and she's trying to take it across the country to California, and she ends up breaking down along the way in this small town in West Virginia and falls in love there. It's definitely very insta-love, but she has this sense like she can't stay, and there's like a timeline on the relationship, so she knows she's gonna leave, and she had left a cheating husband, and it follows her romance with a mechanic she meets when her car breaks down. And then she hands the car off to the heroine of book 2, who goes back to, I think it was Montana, and she goes back to the small town where she left another friend from the junkyard, and she's kind of reconciling with that friend because she had left, and she gets back together with the guy that she left. She had a one-night stand with him and disappeared and never returned, and he hates her. It's very enemies to lovers, and you really want to continue reading this series because you get to see the glimpses of who's going to get the car next and wondering where they are, what happened to them, and they're very quick and very bingeable to read. They're like 250 pages each. I fly through them in like a day. I have had a lot of fun reading these, and I love that premise where all the characters are connected through this car, and they all have really not good pasts because they all ended up in this junkyard as teenagers together, so you're also exploring that, and they all have this need to run away because they don't want people to leave them first. So definitely a theme throughout the books, but I've enjoyed books 1 and 2, and I'm very excited to finish the series in the rest of January because our last live show is February 1st. So we're gonna finish up in the next 3 weeks, the next 3 books, and I'm very excited. Then we have the CU Hockey series, which is Eden Finley and another author. I always forget the other author's name, but I love Eden Finley's series. These are all hockey romances. They are new adult and they are MM. So I've read the first 2. I know Samantha from Books of Samantha loves this series, and the first one's definitely my favorite so far. The first one, it is a brother's best friend romance because the brother knows that his best friend is going to be at the same college as his brother, and so he tells him, can you like look out for him, make sure he's taking care of himself and just like enjoying college. And so that brother is a hockey player, and he's like, sure, I'll take like your friend under my wing, I'll help him out, and they end up falling for each other, and it's such a cute romance. I really like their dynamic together between like the hotshot hockey player and like the studious, nerdy graduate student who just loses himself in his work and doesn't really have a social life, and him pulling out of his shell. It was definitely really cute, and I love the hockey aspect as well. And then the next one are 2 rivals who are going for being captain on the team, so they have to go through like all of these different shenanigans that they do around campus to try to prove like their worth to be captains, and so it was a lot of fun as well. I'm very excited. I already have the next one out on Hoopla. I've been listening to them on audio, and they are very quick too. They're like 7-8 hour audiobooks, so I fly through them as well, and I get really excited to see what else is happening at the university with the different hockey players. So I love this series so far, and of course I'm excited to continue on. The next series is not finished just yet, but the author has not released the 4th book yet, but that is the Lovelight series by BK Borison. These are just super cozy small town romances that just make you feel good. The heroes are all super sweet, fall head over heels in love with the heroine. There are 3 books out so far, and I believe all of them are out on audio already, so if you have Hoopla, mine had all 3. I read physically the first 2 and I listened to the 3rd one on audio, but book 2 is my favorite. But this one is a Friends to Lovers, takes place on a Christmas tree farm, and it takes place in this small town. Very meddling neighbors, and just again that very cozy kind of Gilmore Girls like feel to these books. I really enjoyed this one. She's trying to get attention to her farm, which is a Christmas tree farm, and she accidentally on purpose tells someone that she's running it with her boyfriend, like long-term boyfriend, but she doesn't have one. So her best friend of forever decides to fake date her. And then we have Beckett in this one who works on the farm. He is definitely a very loner type character. He doesn't like social situations. He had actually had a one-night stand with a heroine, and she was the one who was coming to the Christmas tree farm in this one. She's an influencer. She is not happy with her life, so she goes back to the place she was last happy at, which is their small town on their farm. And the town kind of pushes them together and says, there's nowhere for you to stay. I guess you're gonna have to stay in Beckett's extra room. And so she stays with him. It's forced proximity, and they fall for each other, and he falls so hard for her. And it's just about discovering like what makes you happy in life, and she learns that in here, and I love this one. And then book 3 was a super sweet romance as well. It was the bakery owner, and he is a substitute teacher, and it's just them falling in love with each other, and these are so adorable. In this one, they both are like really bad at dating, and they don't understand why no one like ever wants to continue dating them, or they want to continue dating other people. So they decide to like date each other to see like where they went wrong, and obviously they start falling for each other, but then they're like, wait, is this like part of the dating that we agreed on, or is it really real? And it's adorable. Like I said, the words that come to mind are just like adorable, cozy, fun romances, and you fall in love with these characters and you want to see them, and the glimpses you see of them, like Beckett shows up in all of them, and I love his character so much, and I know he's going to be in book 4 as well, so I'm excited for them to come out. But this one definitely you're going to want to binge all of them. Then I have the Fight Game series by Nikki Castle. These are just really good romances with characters who she builds up so well for their next book, especially going from 1 to 2, because 2 is the heroine's sister in book 1, and you really see her in her relationship that's not good, and you really want the best for her, so you want to see her in book 2. But this one's hate to love. They end up having to be roommates because the heroine doesn't have a place to stay, and there's like a couple weeks before she can find a new place, so she has to stay with Tristan, who is her best friend's best friend, who she hates, and they end up falling for each other, and it's so good. Like, this is one of my favorite books of last year. I loved it. But her sister is in definitely a very toxic, abusive relationship, and you see that kind of play out in here on the sidelines. So you're not really in her head in her relationship, but you know something bad is happening. And it's actually the heroine in this book's best friend who falls for her sister in this one. And so a lot of the beginning of this one does show Haley in that relationship and finally being able to leave that relationship, and she ends up staying with Jax, who is the best friend, and it's their slow friendship romance, and I really enjoyed this one as well. Definitely more serious, but really good. And then the third one is one of their friends, and it is a friends with benefits to lovers situation, and it's really good as well. I really loved it. Definitely very, very steamy. Like, out of the 3, I think that was the steamiest and the most fun, and I just could not recommend these enough. They're all MMA fighters, and I just really enjoy their friend group and the sports romance we get in here, so highly recommend checking this out. Then I have the Family series by Katrina Jackson. This one I love because you don't really get the sense of the completeness of the series until book, I think it's technically 2, but it's the 3rd book in the series. So these are all mafia romances, and I was obsessed with the first one. It's a novella. She is traveling around Italy with her boyfriend and realizes in the midst of traveling, like, I hate my life and I hate my boyfriend, so she leaves, goes to this restaurant, and basically hooks up with this mafia boss and goes on her way. Well, she's gonna have to find him for reasons, and that was the book. And so then we go into book 1, which is a hitman, where she is like left at the altar, so she goes on their honeymoon, and at the resort she's at, there's another guy there that she starts really falling for. Definitely super spicy times, and he's actually a mafia hitman, and so then they're on the run together. So dramatic and fun and lots of action. And then book 3 is where they all sort of come together, where the heroine of this one's related to, I think both of the heroines in the previous books were one's her sister and one's her cousin, and they kind of rope her into this mafia world, and it's because the heroine from book 1 has disappeared, and she figures out what's happened to the heroine of book 1.5, and they end up having to track down their relative from the previous book and see like where is she. She was last seen in Italy. Like, I don't know what's happening with her. And so then she falls for someone else in the mafia, and they all have to like separate and go on the run together because someone's after all of them. It's so fun, and like I said, you don't really get that sense of like completeness until you get more into the series where they are all then like weaving together, and I really love that when series do that. So if you want a mafia romance with a lot of adventure and hiding out and super great settings because they're in Italy, pick this series up. I had to mention my favorite series. I recently did a reel where it was like name a series where there's not a bad book in it, and that for me is the Tattered and Tauren series by Catherine Cowles. This series also has this one character weaved through all of the series where she doesn't get a book until the last book. So you are furiously reading this series just to get to her book, and all of them are amazing. So book 1, Hate to Love, she's back in town. This one actually starts out because her father kidnapped his sister when she was little, and the heroine actually like turned her father in and rescued the girl, but the hero hates her because her family's the reason why his sister was kidnapped. So he is very angry, and it's their romance. She's back in town, bought her family property in order to open up an animal sanctuary, so I really enjoy this one. But that sister is the one who gets book 5. She's very closed off because she was the one that was kidnapped because she has a very damaged past. So we see her all throughout the series and we're waiting for her to get her romance, but love this one. Then we do have his sister's story here with his best friend. It is brother's best friend romance, and they both are EMTs, but she is definitely an adrenaline junkie, and that her family really hates her for it. Not hates her, but her family really is on her back for the dangerous things she does. She basically like posts to like TikTok, YouTube, her things, and she's very well known for it. And her mom is really hard on her because her mom's very protective because of what happened to her other daughter. She was kidnapped. So it's her with her brother's best friend who's also a single dad. Very good. And then my favorite is this one where it's actually the brother of the hero from book 1 and the cousin of the heroine from book 1. That means that she was the one that was from a very cult-like family who were just very wary of everybody. They have very strict traditional gender roles, and they don't have any contact with the outside world, and she finally escapes because they're very abusive as well. And the hero is a doctor, and he's in town, and they are both living at the hero from books 1 house together because they both need a place to stay, and she's working at a gallery, and it's really good. He helps her just figure out how to be a part of society and like try new things, learn to drive. So sweet. I love this one. The heroes are the sweetest. I'm obsessed with them. And then we have Shattered Sea. I think this one's the only one where they're not in the family, but we saw the heroine from the gallery that the heroine from the previous books worked at, and I'm pretty sure he is a famous person. I'm pretty sure he's an actor, and they end up falling for each other, and she actually has a lot of back pain from an accident that she was in, and she goes through that a lot, and their relationship is very sweet, and I love that representation, that chronic pain in here. So love this one. And then the last one is finally the heroine who was kidnapped story, and it is with another damaged person. The hero helps rehabilitate damaged horses and emotionally traumatized horses, and she ends up always visiting him on her horse, and he lets her watch, and he has a past of his own, and he has a soft spot for her, and he normally pushes a lot of people away, but he offers for her to move in to the extra home on his property so that she can help work with him to get away from her family who she feels like is smothering her. So she moves in and they fall in love, and it's so sweet. Like all of these, there's a lot of emotional healing happening and damaged characters, and they're amazing. I love them. You're gonna want to fly through them like I did. Then I have, if you can't tell, I love small town. So half of these are small town. We have the Clifton Forge series by Debbie Perry. This one had a couple more duds than other series that I recommended. So there were a couple that had, well, there's one specifically that had the surprise pregnancy trope that I did not care for, but you definitely have to read the series in order, and there is an underlying mystery going on because in the first book, this one, the heroine's a reporter and the hero is the son of the old president of a motorcycle club that's been disbanded in their town. She has thoughts about that club that maybe they're not actually disbanded, and she wants to get to the bottom of it, and so she is researching, and his father is actually found to have murdered someone that came to visit in town he had a history with. And so the hero of this is like, my dad didn't do it, I'm gonna prove it. And so that whole mystery is weaved throughout the entire series. This has so much found family in it. The motorcycle club is huge in this as well. Even though it's disbanded, they all are a family together. And so I had a lot of fun reading this one. I loved all the couples. Some are my favorites. I don't remember which one specifically, but I think his name was Luke. I don't remember, but a couple of them I absolutely loved, and I really loved the last book as well. So these have tropes for every book. that you can love, and I had a lot of fun reading it. So the last one, actually, I've only read one book in, but I highly recommend it because I'm dying to read more. So that is the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. I actually don't own the one I read. I thought I owned the whole series, but A Photo Finish is the one that I picked up. I was obsessed. I have to go back and read book 1 because I loved seeing that couple in this book. A Photo Finish, what I can tell you about the book 2, you can read them out of order, but I definitely am going to go read them in order. So book 2 is about our heroine who is a jockey, and she actually gets hurt because another jockey put her in a very dangerous situation, and she ended up falling and hurting her leg, so she has to recover, and she lives in an apartment that's like above, I think like a garage or something, and so she has to move in with the hero, who is the brother of someone who owns the ranch that she rides for. He has a 1-story home, so she can get around easier if she stays like on the bottom floor of a house instead of having to go up and down stairs. They end up having to live together, but nobody knows they actually have a past. They had an online relationship and things did not end well. So it's definitely a second chance romance. Hero's very grumpy, they hate each other because of how it ended, and they fall back in love. So I loved it. Revolved around horses and the farm. It's the Gold Rush Ranch series, so I'm dying to pick up the rest. Her other series, which was Heartless and Flawless, is top tier amazing, but she does have a backlist with this series that you guys should check out. And those are the series I would recommend reading if you're in the mood for something to just pick up and binge because you won't want to put it down. I'm definitely in the mood for small town cozy, so that's why half of them are like that, but let me know if you have any recommendations. Like I said, check out Crystal's video down below, and I will link my video from March that I did as well if you want to check that one out. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.